Hello everyone. We will now discuss more problems about our lesson 2.1 and 2.2. Example number 1. Determine the angle of the smallest possible positive measure that is coterminal with each of the following angles. So let's have A, 830 degrees. So please pause this video and try to answer it on your own first. To answer the problem, since 830 degrees is positive, we need to subtract. So 830 degrees, we need to subtract 360 degrees. So 830 minus 360 degrees is 470 degrees. But 470 degrees is still more than 360 degrees. So that means we still have to subtract 360 degrees again. So 470 minus 360 is equal to 110 degrees. So the angle with measure 110 degrees is the angle with the smallest positive measure that is coterminal with the angle with measure 830 degrees. You can also show your solution in this manner. So 830 degrees, and as I said during our synchronous sessions, if the given is positive, so you need to subtract. And since there are two rotations here, so 2 times 360. And that would still be equal to 110 degrees. Let's have another given. How about if it is negative 520 degrees? So since negative 520 degrees is negative, this time instead of subtracting, we will add 360 degrees. So add 360 degrees, and then you will get negative 160 degrees. And then, this is still negative. So in other words, we still have to add another 360 degrees again. So negative 160 plus 360 is 200 degrees. So it means that the angle with measure 200 degrees is the angle with the smallest positive measure that is coterminal with the angle with measure negative 520 degrees. So you can also present your answer by having this, negative 520. Since this is negative, so add. Then, we need to multiply 2 to 360 and then you will get 200 degrees. Okay, let's now continue to example 2. This time, we will calculate trigonometric function values for acute angles. So the terminal side of an angle in standard position passes through the point 2 and 5. Calculate the values of the 6 trigonometric functions for angle. So, our step 1 is to make sure that we know where it is located in our Cartesian plane. So, knowing that this is positive, positive, so that means it is expected to be in our quadrant 1. So, with that, we know that our x is equal to 1 and our y is equal to 5. So we need to figure out what's our r so that we can figure out the other 6. The 6 trigonometric functions. So we're gonna use the equation of the circle. X squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Where x is, this is 2. So 2 squared plus 5 squared is equal to r squared. 2 squared is 4, 5 squared is 25. Then 25 plus 4 is 29. So therefore, r is square root of 29. Then you can figure out already the six trigonometric functions. So we'll start with sine. Sine theta is equal to y over r. So that would be 5 over square root of 29. So with that, we still have to multiply a square root of 29 in here. Square root of 29 over 20, over square root of 29. So 5 square root of 29 over 29. Next for cosecant, perhaps cosine muna tayo. Cosine is x over r. So therefore, that's 2 over square root of 29. So may square root of 29 tayo sa denominator. So we still have to multiply a square root of 29 over square root of 29. Then you will get 2 square root of 29. Then here, 29. Then next for tangent, that's y over x. So y is 5, x is 2. So 5 halves. For cosecant, that would be r over y. So that would be square root of 29 over 5. For secant, that's r over x. So square root of 29, then x is 2. Then finally, for cotangent, that's x over y. So x is 2, y is 5. Okay, let's continue now to example 3. The terminal side of an angle theta in standard position passes through the point -4 and -7. Calculate the values of the six trigonometric functions for angle theta. So, we need to identify the location of our terminal side, and upon checking our point here, -4 and -7, so this is negative, 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 so meaning quadrant 3. So x is equal to -4, y is equal to -7. Then we need to figure out what is r. So to do that, x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. X is -4, y is -7. So this is 16, this is 49. Then 16 plus 49 is 65. So r is equal to the square root of 65. So with that, we can already figure out the six trigonometric functions. So sine theta is just y over r. So -7 over square root of 65. But there's a square root again in the denominator, square root of a non-perfect square. So we need to multiply a square root of 65 over square root of 65. So we will get -7 square root of 65 over 65. Then we look for cosine, or perhaps we get the cosecant first. So it's because cosecant is just the reciprocal of sine. So that would be r over y. So square root of 65 over -7. But we prefer putting it in the middle of our fraction bar. So negative square root of 65 over 7. And then for cosine, it's x over r. So we have -4 over square root of 65. So we still have to multiply a square root of 65 over square root of 65. So this will give us negative 4 square root of 65 over 65. Then the reciprocal of our cosine is second. So r over x, just the reciprocal of x over r. Kaya naging r over x. So, square root of 65 over negative 4. Or we can say negative square root of 65 over 4. And then for tangent, tangent is y over x. So negative 7 for y. X is negative 4. So that will give us 7 over 4 because negative divided by negative is positive. Then for cotangent, that's x over y. So negative 4 over negative 7. And as our final answer, that's 4 over 7. Because negative divided by negative is positive. So let's now continue to example 4. Let's evaluate a trigonometric function when the quadrant of the terminal side is known. So if the cosine theta is equal to negative 3/5 and the terminal side of theta lies in quadrant 2, find sine theta. Okay, so we know that it's in quadrant 3. So as expected, the sign for quadrant 3 would be negative, negative. So if we try to recall, cos theta is just equal to x over r. And remember as well that the radius must be greater than 0. So in other words, with our negative 3/5, the r, you might be confused kung if which one would be negative, whether it's x or r, because there's a negative sign here. So just remember that radius should be greater than 0. So automatically x is our negative 3 and our r would be our 5. So since x and r are known already, we need to figure out what is y. So we just have to substitute x is equal to negative 3 and r is equal to 5. 2x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. So this is 9. 5 squared is 25. Then we subtract 9 in both sides so that the ones on the left become 0. So 25 minus 9 is 16. We get the square root of both sides. So that would be 4. So when we get the square root of both sides, it can be either positive or negative. Okay. But now, remember that the terminal side lies on quadrant 3. And the signs should be negative, negative. So, in that consideration, the y must be less than a 0. So that's why, instead of having positive or negative 4, we will only consider y as negative 4 and not positive anymore. Then we can already figure out, that's the last step, we can already figure out what's our sign. Sine theta is equal to y over r, where y is equal to negative 4 and r is 5. So our answer is negative 4/5. Now let's continue to example 5. Finding reference angles. So we're asked to find the reference angle for each angle given. So what if it's at 210 degrees? So 210 degrees, the terminal side for that lies in quadrant 3 because it's more than 180 degrees and at the same time, um, it's lesser than 270 degrees. So, if that's the case, nasa quadrant 3 yon. Pag nasa quadrant 3, yung ating terminal side, the reference angle is made by the terminal side and the x-axis. So to get it, you just have to subtract the given angle measurement with 180 degrees and you will get 30 degrees. So ibig sabihin nito, if we have a Cartesian plane, just like this, this is our initial side and 210 degrees is somewhere here. And then, yung reference angle natin is this one. From our x-axis till our terminal side. So, this is 30 degrees. Okay, let's continue with B. Okay, just don't mind the letter there. That's B already, 135 degrees. So, if that is a 135 degrees, 135 degrees now is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. That means it's in quadrant 2. If it is in quadrant 2, you just have to subtract 180 with the given angle measurement. So 180 minus 135 degrees. So the answer is 45 degrees. So what does it mean? If we have a Cartesian plane here, this is our initial side. From here, somewhere here, that would be 135 degrees. Our reference angle is from our terminal side down here to our x-axis, which is now 45 degrees. Okay, let's have C now. 422 degrees. So in our case here, 422 degrees is already more than 360 degrees. So what will we do if that's the case? Okay. So looking at it, if we try to analyze, if we make a Cartesian plane, this is more than one rotation because one rotation is 360. So, meaning, our angle measurement for 22 degrees is somewhere here in our quadrant 1. So, the location here is at quadrant 1. So, paano natin nalaman na sa quadrant 1? Kasi 422 minus 360 degrees, that's 62 degrees. So, if it's in quadrant 1, the reference angle is just equal to the angle measurement. So, yung reference angle natin, okay, normally, theta yan. So, our reference angle here would just be 62 degrees. Because that's a case for quadrant 1. Whatever is a given angle measurement, it's just equal to the reference angle. But only if it's in quadrant 1. So let's continue to our example 6. Let's evaluate the cosine function of a special angle exactly. So we're asked to find the exact value of cosine 210 degrees. So you're already given with the unit circle, so that means you just have to locate 210 degrees there. Please try to check yung pina-screenshot ko during our synchronous session. You will notice that 210 degrees is more than 180 degrees, but it's lower than 270 degrees. So meaning nasa quadrant 3 yan. So that would be 210 degrees. So nandito siya. So may label na doon. Yung ordered pair natin is negative square root of 3 over 2 at saka negative 1 half. And x, this is x, this is y. And x is our cos, y is our sine. So ibig sabihin, the cosine of 210 degrees is just equal to negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, how about if the given is tangent of 495 degrees? So, how do we do that? So, of course, we just have to make sure no that it's lesser than 360 degrees. But the problem now is it exceeds beyond 360 degrees. So, we need to find its coterminal angle between 0 and 360 degrees. And to do that, 495 degrees, we will subtract at 360 degrees. Again, kasi pag inimagine natin siya sa ating Cartesian plane, umikot siya ng isang beses. That's 360, but it's not enough. So it will go beyond 360 pa. So to find its coterminal angle, we need to get rid of that one rotation. So minus 360 degrees, you will get 135 degrees. And saan natin makikita yung 135 degrees sa ating Cartesian plane? So, ibig sabihin, nandito siya sa ating quadrant 2. Kasi it's between 180 at saka 90. So, from here to here, that's 135 degrees. Or, ito din yung 495 degrees natin. Okay? So, if that's the case, tingnan nyo lang yung 135 degrees sa ating 135 degrees sa ating unit circle, and then you will see what's x and y. Kung titingnan natin, this is, the ordered pair would be negative square root of 2 over 2, and then square root of 2 over 2. Ito yung may 3 pi over 4. So, I hope you can see that in your copies. So, again, check nyo lang yung pina-screenshot ko. Yung parang ang daming-daming arrows dito. Yun. 135 degrees is just 3 pi over 4. So, kaya naging ganyan. And then, tangent. Okay. So, tangent of 495 degrees is just equal to sine of 495 degrees over, or hindi na lang natin iisipin na 495 ito. So, we can think of it as 135 already. Over cos 135 degrees. So, yung sine natin is yung y value, yung y coordinate, which is square root of 2 over 2. And then yung cos natin is yung x. So, negative square root of 2 over 2. So, dito lang natin i-continue. So, square root of 2 over 2, change division to multiplication, then reciprocal. So, negative 2 over square root of 2. Cancel out square root of 2, yung 2 din. Matitira na lang is negative 1. So, ito yung sagot natin. Okay, now let's continue to example 8. Let's evaluate the cosecant function of a special angle exactly. So, find the exact value of cosecant of negative 210 degrees. So, this time, negative ulit yung binigay sa atin, which is the counterclockwise, it's in counterclockwise direction. So, what we need to do is to figure out the coterminal angle, which is between 0 and 360 degrees. Kasi yun ang common natin, or yung binigay sa inyo. So, how will you change it into its positive version na angle measurement? So, we just have to add negative 10 degrees with 360 degrees. And you will get 150 degrees for that. Now, so, ang gagawin nyo na lang, um, titingnan natin yung copy natin. Kung titingnan natin yung 150 degrees is in quadrant 2 kasi it's between 180 degrees and 90 degrees. So, it's somewhere here. Sige. So nandun yon may 150 degrees. Kung naka-rad naman siya, it's 5 pi over 6. So ano yung ordered pair natin? That would be negative square root of 3 over 2 and then 1 half for y. Since we're looking for the cosecant of negative 210 degrees, so that would just be the inverse of sine. So 1 over sine of negative 210 degrees. So ibig sabihin yung y natin, which is 1 half. So 1 over 1 half. So 1, change division to multiplication. Reciprocal of 1 half is 2. So 1 times 2, 2.